Hi, everyone. Good evening. Welcome to Issues and Inspiration. This is Marivir here in New York City. I hope you're all enjoying this wonderful spring season and everybody's doing safe. Hello, Grace. How are
Hi,
you there?
Olivia. I'm good. I'm good here in New Jersey, and we're back
Uh-huh.
online.
Yes, we're
Yeah,
back. I hope they missed us.
right. Are you
Right. We were
enjoying
away for a
the?
week.
Yeah, are you enjoying the weather so far?
Yes, yes,
It has been
thankfully.
really nice. The sun
Hmm.
is out, and the weather is getting really warmer.
No more winter jackets, I hope.
No, no, it's really
So
good.
tonight
Mhm.
we will have a very good, wonderful guest, a person we are proud of, right?
Correct.
Are you ready to introduce him, Grace?
Of course, it's my pleasure to introduce our guest for tonight,
Mm-hmm.
who is uh, a community leader close
Right.
to our hearts. Steven Raga is currently he currently works as the Northeast Regional Manager for Policy and Advocacy for the Susan G. Komen Foundation, where he oversees healthcare legislation in 11 states. Most recently, he served as Chief of Staff to Assemblyman Brian Barnwell and previously served as Senior Strategist for Multicultural Leadership at AARP. Currently, he is also a New York State Advisory Committee member for the U.S. Federal Commission on Civil Rights appointed under President Obama, where they have produced reports on policing, education, and prison reform. He also currently sits on the boards of Woodside on the Move, Queen's Pride, and the National Federation of Filipino American Associations, or NAFA. Stephen has been a member of Queen's Community Board 2 since 2016, currently J. Kriegel Fellow for Public Service Leadership at the CUNY Institute for State and Local Governance, and the founder of the Filipino American Unity for Progress, or UNIPRO, which he founded in Woodside in 2009. He also enrolled in a dual degree program between Weill Cornell Medicine and Cornell S.T. Johnson Graduate School of Medicine. Friends, let's welcome Steven Raga.
Hi, Steve. Good evening.
Hi, how are you?
Welcome to the show.
It's my pleasure. You got some latest photos over there on the introduction. You guys are
Yes, we saw each other during the rally. This was last
yeah,
Saturday, right? That's why it's a new one.
yeah. Thanks for joining. Thanks for joining.
Of
I
course.
wasn't there, but yes, congratulations and thank you for all that you do.
No, thank you for all you do. I've worked with both of you for a while, so
Yes, correct.
we're friends. But feel free to ask me hard questions if
Of
you.
course.
Okay,
Will
we
do.
will give you a hard
Wink.
time.
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
Grace, you want to
Okay,
ask him the first question?
I'll start the first hard question.
Okay.
Okay, so Steven, there are 15 of you vying for the seat in District 26 in Queens. What are you bringing with you to win in the primary? And how are you persuading people that you have to be the representative?
What I'm bringing that nobody else is
Mhm.
bringing is the Filipino community. For the first time ever,
Mhm.
we're engaging. A campaign is engaging directly with Filipino residents, Filipino small businesses. This is, this district encompasses Woodside. It's the heart of the
Mhm.
Filipino community in the state of New York. This is where
Right.
everybody, anchors in when or when they immigrate or touch base into New York City. So it's important that there's representation there. In the first place, it's just sad that I'm the first one to get on the ballot. I know it's great.
Mhm.
It's history making great to just even make the ballot from Woodside being Filipino, but I should be like the 20th. Every year there should be like two or three. Not this year.
Mhm.
Too late. Don't challenge me now. But in the future we should have a lot of people
Mhm.
trying to get here. So that's one. We're bringing in our community. Definitely engaging them and making sure we have a seat on the table this year. The other thing and how we're doing our outreach is we have to meet the voters where they are. So if they're going, shopping at the grocery or if we have to call them on the phone, we just have to make sure that they know that through me, there's an option there to vote for somebody who has the direct experience in advocacy in the district, not anywhere else, has a direct
Mhm.
experience in nonprofit volunteering too in the district, not anywhere else, and also direct experience every day in working full-time in government in the district, not somewhere else. And I think that's something new, unique, and definitely something special that we bring that no one else is bringing right now.
Okay, thank you.
Amazing. So, Steven, first tell us about your roots, your heritage, your being Filipino, and how you've been raised as such, and also as an American. And tell us about it. Tell us what influenced you most, what values you hold dear.
Sure. Yeah, I'm very much impact. You already know this. You know, I'm impacted by the Filipino community and our heritage. But for me,
Yeah.
I was born here in New York, but at the time, my dad didn't have his paperwork yet, so he was still in the Philippines. So
Mhm.
there's a decision for my to as my mom stayed here to work, that I would go back to the Philippines to be with my dad
Mhm.
for a few years. So I was there in the mid 80s during under Marcos, and
Mhm.
and after the people power, and
Mhm.
my dad got his paperwork, we came and followed back and came back to New York. But
I see.
so the first few years I was in Laguna. I lived in San Pablo, but I went between Lumban, where my dad was, and also Manila.
You still speak Tagalog, right?
I speak, but it's about confidence. It's confidence. You have to. I, I need. It's like anything else. I can speak French, but I don't speak it
Mhm.
every. I don't speak Arabic, but I don't speak it every day. I need practice. So this is. I think by the time it's election day, I'm gonna be
Uh-huh.
fluent. Be very straight.
Okay, we will ask
So
you.
your mom.
It's the first language. It's my first language. When I
Yeah.
came here
Uh-huh.
to school, I had to go through ESL and learn English.
Mhm.
So
Right.
so I know it. It's just it's the uh, getting the word
The
out.
Right,
It's
right.
practice. Yeah.
been
Okay,
here.
we
I'd
can
like to.
practice later. We'll
Uh-huh.
ask you some Tagalog questions later.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Okay, so yes, another question for you is that as far as Woodside, Sunnyside, and Astoria are concerned, what issues are there which you see must be addressed locally? And you have been working with Assemblyman Brian Barnwell for quite some time now, so that must have made you familiar with these issues.
Absolutely. No, I know which policy issues are that need to be addressed, not
Mhm,
necessarily are being addressed, but need
mhm,
to be addressed.
mhm,
And this is from multiple facets. So one is the constituents themselves. What constituent affairs can be
mhm,
prioritized within a government office to help the people who need it the most? So if it's housing, which it is, that's the answer. Number one, and rent in,
Mhm.
in this district. How do we help our residents, our small business owners, our
mhm,
homeowners, and our tenants to make sure they have enough to stay here, to stay in the neighborhood they love and contribute to. But that's just on the day-to-day governmental office level. Secondly, how do we advocate for them both in this is a city council position, but both in legislation in city hall, but also
Mhm.
use our platform to support in the state and in DC, because we can do that. All the policies go down the line and up the line too. So how do we make sure our policies mimic, if it's a great loss on the state and the federal, or even go beyond that if we think it's not enough? And third, also on budget allocation. Our community, the Filipino community, is one of the most marginalized in our district. Not the most, but one of the most ignored. I think we
Mhm.
can agree to that. This is
right.
We've been here for decades, and we can't even have Little Manila sign
Mhm.
on Woodside. We can't even have any
Right.
of those. At this point, we should have and we mentioned it over the weekend, but a historical marker to really to designate that the Filipinos have been here and contributed
Mhm.
consistently on a regular basis for years, not just in the small business community here, not just with our community-oriented residents that have been here for decades, but also in healthcare. In light of last year under coronavirus, Filipinos have been in the forefront of all three, helping our community both in District 26 and citywide. And the least they can do is some sort of acknowledgement. Might be only right. But to answer your question, um,
Mhm,
one, housing, right? That's
Mhm.
definitely in the forefront. Secondly is transportation, in as so far that it's it is, wait, let me back up on the housing to be more comprehensive. When I say that, I mean for tenants, for small business owners, and also for homeowners. We want to make sure that they stay in, right? So that's all under the housing and development and like land use type of bucket. But moving to transportation, this kind of impacts everybody, whether you take the car, bus, train that is very slow or very fast, and usually slow, or if you're biking or walking, all of that impacts each other, because these are methods of transportation, and limited space on the road needs to be given to other modes and transportation if one is deprioritized over the other. So how do we make sure that the 7 train, for example, has the resources allocated evenly through all the stops from Jackson Heights all the way from Long Island City and across? If you're maybe in Long Island City, you could see nice escalators and
Right.
nice glass windows and all of that, and then you go
It's
to
opulent.
oh, it's nice, it's really nice.
But on 69, it's so bad.
Yes, I agree.
On 69th, it's there's not even handicap accessibility over there,
Right,
which
right.
what they have to do on 69th Street is go to 61st Street to try to get the elevator, but then you go there
Right.
and the elevator's broken anyway. So I mean, it's a whole different. You can see that different parts of the community get different allocation
Treatment.
or percentage
Yeah.
of this, and you don't have to take my word for it. Just go on go to the Phil Am here on 70th Street and just walk
Yes.
down 10 blocks, walk down 15 blocks on Roosevelt, and you see a drastic difference on how clean the city keeps it and the resources allocated for the community. So definitely that all goes in the transportation bucket, because again, you can see recently they've been painting the 7 train. You saw they painted over some of it.
Yes.
It did need it. It was kind of it wasn't nice to look at, but they were painting over holes. There were holes in the infrastructure, and they painted over it to make it seem clean. But you know what you can't paint over? The spike that came down and almost killed somebody in front of Red Ribbon earlier
Right.
last year, because you can't. The infrastructure is crumbling, it's falling. And what is the first thing they did when that was right in the middle of in an immigrant community, in the Filipino community, when a spike went down, and it was the top story in New York that day, and almost someone almost died because of it. Luckily not, that it came down from the train platform. But what they did is they put more wood there. They put more wood over there, and then they put netting down the street. So on 65th Street in front of Red Ribbon, that's where the spike went down. But then they put the netting on 61st. That's where that's not where the incident was. And then they went down the street to the 50s. That's not where the incident was. And you could tell again, that was in your face, who they were not protecting in that incident.
Mm.
Oh my goodness.
Okay.
Thank
So
you for
I-
that sensitivity. And then I'd like to ask you give us a sense, if you know it, how does the Queen's Council work? Do you operate based on constituent needs, therefore representation is necessary, or is it, with your experience with Assemblyman Barnwell, is it also driven by politics, by partisan politics?
Yeah, it's really up to the person who's elected. It could be either how you want to interpret that. If elected, I think what I would do is similarly, and I respect the way Assemblyman Barnwell did this. He definitely said our priority is the constituents. Those are the people, when you take the oath, the people you're supposed to serve, to fight for, to defend, and it's the people that live within your district. So my priority would be with our residents, whether or not they are voters, whether or not they're Democrats, whether or not they're Republicans or independents, whether or not, for me at least, whether or not they have citizenship. It's if they live or work here or they use the facilities here, we should be advocating for them. And that's if you're in the neighborhoods of Woodside, Sunnyside, Astoria, and Long Island City. Now, if I were to succumb to any pressure from outside of the district and deprioritize the people that I'm supposed to fight for every day, I think I would no longer be fit to serve. And then and I would say that about not just myself, but any elected official in New York.
I see. Before Grace asks you the next question, I'd like to show this short footage of the rally that you were into and I was able to cover along with some friends with the media. So I'll show this.
Okay.
The question will come in. So we see familiar people here. Ambassador, oh, that's me. There's Noel Quintana, who's advocating for public safety, and that's Rachel. There you are.
Noel, thank you for the words. Thank you for the support, and everybody else here. What's good when I'm seeing everybody here is I've all worked with most of you already, so I don't have to. This is nothing new. I've worked. This is years and 15 years almost of working and advocating for our community. So thank you for joining us today. As we know, with the rise in hate crimes against the Asian American community, and there's been a focus on many activists, leaders, and community members. This has been a topic that's been close to home, and it's been one of the actual deciding factors on why we were pushed as a community to see if we could run somebody that can prioritize our needs and our necessities. So today I'm going to briefly outline, try to be brief, the campaign's proposals to combat Asian hate in all forms in New York City. So our platform is built on three main pillars: community education, community investment, and support for community infrastructure. The first one, on community education, we have to recognize, as someone said before, recognize racism as a public health threat and as well as multiple cities across America. So it's time that New York City does the same as immediate and allocates immediate resources to combat that racism in all its forms.
There we go again. Selfie. There's Ambassador De Leon. And there's Don Tagala and Noel Quintana. There's Tita Juliet. And good friend Rachel.
Hey. Okay.
All right. So Grace, you want to ask Steven about related to that film?
Yeah, on the issue of racism, Steven. So how do you suppose to change such perception and regard against people of color as far as the Queen's Council is concerned?
First off, thanks for the clip. I try to steer clear of watching myself. So that's the most I've watched. That's that thing that you showed over the weekend. I don't like hearing myself, but in terms of how do you change perception, I mean that's difficult. That's the $1 million question. Everyone has. It's not.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Acts of violence against them. So it's nothing new in that regard. But what I would do is we have to continue the fight to make sure that is not continuing, or we could decrease it as quickly as possible. And we see it now in because it's attacking our community. The two top most visible anti-Asian acts of violence in New York City were Noel and Titikari. Those are the top two, where someone is slashed and then someone is going to church and gets attacked. I mean, if that doesn't get you involved or at least upset or moved to act somehow during an election year, I don't know what else we can do. I say that if you're Filipino, but any Asian and anybody, this is. It's horrible acts. Now, in terms of how we can help and address the racism in the council, I think one of it is, and you could see this just the reactions, is that of those two incidents we mentioned, is that how do we go and see ourselves in these positions of authority so that we can defend and act accordingly or prevent it. So
Mhm.
we need more people who look like us in these positions, and become stakeholders to help prevent something like this, and also address it right away. And I think that's kind of one of the reasons I thought I was pushed to run, so that if I'm in there, if we get there, don't you think you would have a city council member that would be loudly yelling every day for justice for Noel and for any other acts of violence against Filipinos, Asian Americans, and frankly, any victims of racism in New York City. So that's number one. Number two, how do we? Yes, let's say we're focusing on right now, like the Asian American community. Yes, great,
Mhm.
I agree. But how do we relate that to other marginalized communities, people of color, immigrants who are experiencing, racism as well? Sometimes regularly, even more violent for years or decades. And I think that's something where we need solidarity between the people of color, marginalized communities in New York City. And although that yes, we're in the forefront now, we need their help to come and support us now. But when and hopefully everything clears up and against violence towards Asian Americans. But when that does, let's not forget that we also want no violence against anybody, not just because of discrimination or their race, but we don't want violence against anyone, period, in New York City. So how do we be that ally proactively for anyone who needs it?
Mhm.
Right.
Thank
You
you.
mentioned, Stephen, about infrastructure for your district, District 26.
Yeah.
How does that look like as far as our communities are concerned? What are these structures you're thinking?
I mean, really, basically, even the the seven train is the first thing I could even think of.
Mhm.
Yeah, in terms of city infrastructure,
Yeah.
um, it would be the 7 train, the R train over there on 65th, Northern Boulevard. I mean, these are also the number one primary modalities that people use to get to the Little Manila corridor, to the restaurants, to visit their family in Woodside, to anything.
Mhm.
So that's definitely one of the pieces of infrastructure we really need to focus on. But outside of that, those particular stops, then it becomes more general. The bus lanes, the bike lanes, they're trying to make the BQX on the western side of Queens, connecting Queens and Brooklyn. I mean, there's a lot of transportation infrastructure that needs to be addressed. And what's funny is that was one of the main focuses for New York City planning and design planning in terms of our transportation, because they were going to redesign the bus system or the routes in Queens right
Mhm.
before COVID hit. That was the biggest discussion on which routes went where, and there was going to be one that went straight down 69th Street, a bus that goes. For me, I'm like, oh wow, I get to work in 10 minutes. It's pretty good. But
Yeah.
I know that, I mean, that was but I was still, like, in general, kind of against the overall plan, because it disproportionately impacted seniors in our district. A lot of seniors that were Filipino too, because even the churchgoers at Saint Sebastian were up in arms, because how are they gonna? Because the 32 on the Q32 that the churchgoers use might be cut off and goes separate, instead of going down the street. And as a senior, you can't just keep you're transferring or walking, where you want a straight shot
Yeah.
to your place of worship, to your home, to the hospital. And I just think it was that those are the things that if COVID was not there, and one of the things we would have to defend and make sure our seniors have their priorities met. That's an example there of what we could have done for Woodside last year. And it's probably going to be something when COVID dies down. That's going to be probably another thing that comes around the bend, and we'd have to prioritize and keep an eye on just in case.
Thank you. Grace, do you have a question for Stephen? You can unmute your mic, Grace.
Sorry about that. Okay, so I have a question about the small businesses in your area. What do you think is the biggest hurdle these small businesses owners face that the city council could fix?
I've been talking to a lot of the small businesses in
Mhm.
in the neighborhood, and there's a stark difference from the mentality of the first generation immigrant
Mm-hmm.
small business owners have than maybe a second generation or third, um, particularly in how to deal with government. And they only see, for the majority, and I don't blame them, see government as a way that they are getting, fined by the city, right?
Oh.
And as immigrants, they, even if the fine is, $600, $1,000, even if they know they're in the right, they're not going to fight it because they think the city will just give another fine and another fine and another fine. They chalk it up to the cost of doing business. But the people that have been here for, that might not, especially owners that might not be in high populations of immigrant residents, they might fight it all the way up. They might call the city council member, the congresswoman, the assembly member, and say, "No, help me do this. Help me. I'm not paying that. I'm not paying that." But you can see that the immigrant small business owners, the Filipino small business owners, just say, "I'll pay it. I'll pay it. I'll pay it. I'll pay it," even if it's incorrect. The other day, I heard of and I met in one of our Filipino restaurants got fined because it seems that the person that came from the Department of Health either ignored or didn't know what a rice cooker was. So the rice cooker, if you plug it, you unplug it and you put it somewhere else, it's not being cooked. Logically, right? It's unplugged. But they saw the rice cooker in another place and said, "Oh, you're not allowed to cook here." And they said, "We're not cooking it here. It was in the place we were allowed to. Then there was no more room. We picked it up and we moved it here." And they just fined them for that. So either two things are happening. There's a lack of cultural competence in some of our city agencies, or immigrant communities are being targeted. Either way, it's wrong.
Right.
Oh, that's very concerning, huh?
It is. Talk
Oh, my
about
goodness.
small business owners. Yeah, they really need support right now.
Yeah, and also I agree, and that's the kind of the narrative, right? That we need to help those that have been in the front lines, and also especially the small business owners, entrepreneurs who risk it all and try to develop a resource for the community, and especially during COVID, even with the customers decreasing, they were still, especially in the Filipino restaurants via the Meal to Heal program,
Yes.
where they were they were bringing it to frontline workers in hospitals and healthcare.
That was very amazing.
Very great.
Innovative and helpful.
100% great program. And but we can't, in my opinion, we can't just highlight when they're great. We have to protect them also when they need the help, because the way they protected us. So
Yes.
for instance, in from 67th Street to 69th Street right now, I think that's correct. Yes, I think that's correct. Most of our small business owners across the city, let me back it up, across the city, you have to make outdoor dining, right? So you have you can't, because people
Build
can't
structures.
So you have to be outside, you have to build those structures. So it's not just in Woodside, it's across the city. And then, if you're approved, the city says, okay, fine, that, they have the proper paperwork. Okay. Now, in that 2-block radius, 69th Street to 67th, we have a utility company. I won't say which. We have a utility company that is that wants to dig up that sidewalk and trying to force those small business owners to take down their the outdoor dining
Structure.
and then put it back up when they're done. And then they brought in the city, the Department of Transportation, because the Department of Transportation covers everything within their scope of not just the street, but the sidewalk too, everything over there. So now the Department of Transportation is coming in and almost, and I'm not saying they are, but the small business owners feel harassed at this point, that they're saying you have to do this, you have to do this. I don't care what you say; it's going to happen anyway. Take down your small business owners and restaurant owners. They're already making profit in the margins there even before. Now during COVID, they need this to even keep it up. So if we're saying how we have to protect our small business and we're praising them, that's what all the elected officials and everybody is saying, rightfully so. But it can't just be empty words. We actually have to make sure they get the help they need. They're not asking for much. They're just saying, don't kick me out. So the structures might cost them from anywhere from, I don't know the range, but I've been hearing about 12,000, 15,000.
Yes, correct. Yeah.
So
I'm hearing the same thing.
You don't break it down for free and then put it back up for free. You have to, that's going to be another 10, 20,000.
Another cost. Yes.
And then where do you put the material for 3 weeks or a month when they're trying to do that? I mean, that's going to be a big loss and a big shot to small businesses. And it's not just Filipino; it's Filipino, Ecuadorian. There's Mexican there, Dominican, Chinese, Korean. It's a long stretch of immigrant-owned small businesses, and that's why it goes back to the earlier question of when we want to defend against Filipino Asian community, we have to make sure that we're also defending other communities of color, because we can see that there's a lot of similarities there.
Correct.
So I hope the structures were not really temporarily taken down, or they will really have to during summer.
It's not 100% yet. I know they're in discussions, but definitely I think right now they're trying to see the options. But if it's going to be something that might significantly hurt or maybe even kill off one of the small businesses in our neighborhood that keep it vibrant and have been contributing, especially during coronavirus, we really have to do something about it and let them know that if you want to protect and praise small businesses, you also have to actually do it in deeds, not just in words.
Correct. Grace, do you have a question for Steven? Something not so serious?
I know. We got very serious. Sorry, that was
one more serious.
More fun.
Oh, another serious.
Okay, so let's go back to your campaign.
Yeah. Well, that's serious, not fun.
Still,
fun.
Yes.
Is it fun? Okay.
One more.
Okay, so what are the challenges you've experienced so far, and how can we Filipinos push, voters like us, push further to get you into the victory?
Yeah. Okay. You know what? Okay. So that's a good question. That's good. We did one more. So it's funny because Filipinos really, especially here, really are a sleeping giant, right? We haven't been in not just politics, in a lot of things, right? So, but we can see the cost of sleeping through politics here for decades. You can see the lack of resources in the community, not just the investment. Where are the Filipino community centers? Just a few years ago, we had Philippine Forum on 69th Street and Kalusugan Coalition on 63rd. And then even in Queens, there was Fosse. I mean, in Jamaica, there was Fosse on 187, I think. And where's the funding for that? First of all, there's lack of funding for Asian American nonprofits across the country already. I think foundation funding, last I checked, for Asian Americans is under 1%. Under 1% that's being allocated from foundation funding for for Asian American nonprofits. What more are Filipinos, right? I mean, we've been here for decades, been contributing significantly to our city and keeping our head down and just doing the work, right? No bad news we've been hearing from our community, all proudly contributing, and we can't even get a community center.
Yes.
It's kind of very disrespectful, right? It's not even a youth center or seniors. How many different programs? I mean, we're in the community. We heard how many different people say, how are we going to have a cultural center? How are we going to have a youth center? How are we going to have a senior center? And it's all like out of pocket. Someone donates, but we should rightfully get allocation from our taxpayer money. Remember, it's not just a handout they're getting. We are paying our taxes, and what has the community have been getting in return? We have been rightfully contributing, and we don't have one community center here in our population. It's kind of saddening. So I'm sorry, I'm going down more of a serious. What the question? What is the challenge?
Challenges or your learning so far during
Oh,
the
okay,
time
okay.
period. Yeah.
All right, sorry. I feel like it's too serious.
It's
um,
okay.
but you know why? It's because it's frustrating, because the more you learn in the process
Mhm.
with the small
Mhm.
businesses or the resources, you get mad because
Yeah,
it's
you discover things too, right? So
yeah, because it's like we are proactively not being included. We are proactively not
Mhm.
being educated. We're
But
proactively kept
Stephen,
out. Hmm.
that is because we are not politically represented and we're not politically active as a group of
Yes.
people,
Yeah, yeah, but
right?
it's circular. I agree
It
with you.
is
I agree with you.
cyclical.
But
Uh-huh.
because we're not politically active, because we're not politically included, then that's why we don't
you
have
don't
the
get
other things that
involved,
I
right?
mentioned.
Yeah.
It directly impacts each other. So what's fun to go out to your question there to actually answer the question is it's a learning process, because you
Mhm.
see
Yes.
how Filipinos really want to be involved. They really want to understand the process here,
Mhm.
and hopefully, we come to a sufficient understanding that we know how the process works, and from now on, moving forward, we can partake easily, and make sure it doesn't have to be Filipino, but the Filipino community can endorse or support somebody that they know will fight for the Filipino community. I mean, if it's Filipino, all the better. But we just want to make sure that our concerns are heard and prioritized. So, for example,
Mhm.
um, there are many registered voters that are Filipino
Mhm.
in Queens, a lot.
Yes, correct.
But in New York, it's about 95% Democrat in the city council. So you have to win a close primary race in June, and then no worries, 95% of the time you're gonna beat the Republican candidate in
Mhm.
November. So all the focus, especially in this race, is in June for registered Democrats. It's registered Democrats. That is
It's
on June
June 22, right?
June 22. But if you're registered in if you're not a registered Democrat and you haven't registered to vote, you can still register to vote and click on and join the Democratic Party by May. I think it's May 22, but to be safe, May 20.
Mhm.
And you could still, and then if you live in the district in Woodside, Sunnyside, LA, Long Island City, and Astoria, south of, I think, Broadway, you will see me on the ballot on June 22, or if you vote early. That's what that's what we're going to need moving forward. It's very exciting to see the Filipino community rally behind, and
Mhm.
and I think we have a good shot here. I think we've had the best shot we've ever had to have a Filipino in elected office.
It's good.
But let us not celebrate too early. Let's not do it, because it's everything in an election. You can have a good shot to win, but the shot to lose is always much larger. We have a bigger shot to lose, so we want to make sure that people are coming on board, and we can strengthen our chances to win. And a lot of that is, don't wait for June 22. We need you this weekend. We need you tomorrow. We need the community to
Mhm.
come out now. The campaign is starting, or has already started now. If we wait to support in June 22, I guarantee you, we lost already. We lost. I
Oh.
guarantee you. Don't worry about it.
So, how's your campaign? Are you doing house to house still?
We're a little bit. It depends. A lot of our because we needed that during petitioning, right?
Right.
To get on the ballot. And even that, we made history two ways, I believe. Where one, I'm the first Filipino to win or to get on the ballot from Woodside. I think
Yes.
Wow,
good.
congratulations.
I
Yay.
think that's good. And then number two, all three of our Filipino candidates, me, Marnie, and Deirdre, all made it. So 3 for
Yes.
3. We have one
Perfect.
in
Right.
Queens, one in Brooklyn,
Awesome.
one in Manhattan. So it's just, now is the time to
Lovely.
join, guys. We're
Mhm.
there. We're putting our name on the line. Please
Yes, yes.
join us now. It's not just imagine we can go out and help for it's only 2 more months. 2 more months we need the help, and then we're here for 4 years. 4 years in this position, and in that way we can change and support not just the Filipino community but all the communities that feel neglected and marginalized in our district and across New York City. So please, now is definitely the time to join. But I didn't answer your question. It's a long. I have a lot of thoughts.
It's a long intro.
About
It's okay.
Yeah. So
let's do something fun then.
yeah.
Yeah, okay,
Wait,
let's
hold
do.
on. Wait. So there's
Right, go ahead.
I'll touch back. So
Yeah.
again, so there's multiple ways to help, right? So the number one way to help is join the campaign. We need to
Mhm.
reach voters. We need to register voters, an official capacity, not just, oh, I'll tell my tita, I'll tell my cousin, I'll tell my sister. They have 3 people who live there. They'll just do it. No, that's guessing. That's rolling the dice. That's gambling. We need it to be an official. You give us the name. We will contact the person. We will process. We want to make sure that those guys are registered to vote. We're not guessing, because sometimes people think they're registered and they're not registered. Sometimes people think they're registered Democrat, they're registered Republican. Sometimes people think they're registered Republican, they're registered Democrat. So it's different ways to go ahead and do that. But also, so that's the number one thing. If you're registered Democrat and you live in Woodside, Sunnyside, Astoria, and Long Island City, come out and vote. Come out and vote. Second is, if you are not registered to vote yet, register to vote. It takes only a few minutes, and you can do it until May. I'm guessing 22 to be safe. I say 20 to be safe. But even if you can't do that, for instance, I've met a lot of Filipinos who are Republican or independent. And they said, Steve, let me change parties and I can vote for you in June. Unfortunately, it's too late. The deadline to change parties in New York City for at least this coming June election it was Valentine's Day, I think, that Friday, the February 14th. So it's over. We've missed that. But the way you can contribute, if you are not in that part that you can, is come in person. If you feel comfortable, if you got vaccinated, come up and join, because now is the time that we need people in person. The campaigning is in person. I love all the, everything online, retweets and people. Great. That's very, very helpful. The one on top of that, if it's in person, so we can meet the non-Filipinos. Remember, if we can win all the Filipinos here, we can win all of them, and we can still lose. We can lose so much. We can lose by a landslide. So we need to do 2 things. One, let's get as many Filipinos registered as possible, bring them in. But if you're comfortable, or if you're not comfortable, how can you tell, your kids, your nephew, someone to come and volunteer? Because then we could outreach to the non-Filipinos. We need to outreach to them, because it's about a 9-to-1 or 10-to-1 ratio on the actual voters that we can bring in, and we need to target them. Or I'm not city council member for the Filipinos, remember. It's city council member for the district of 26. So we need to reach out to everyone. And if you can't register and do that or get volunteers, there's always the donation button. Please just donate. It'll be helpful.
We'll do that.
Will do.
Thank you, Steven. So do you have a very not serious question, Grace?
Hey.
Let's
This
do
one thing.
Filipino
Let's give him a break.
Tagalog 101.
Okay.
101? Okay.
Okay.
Steven, ano daw paborito mong pagkain?
I just ate 3 turon right now. I got from Capamilia right now. I ate it.
OMG.
Although you have to respond in Tagalog.
No. No. I said,
Okay,
He
siya
can't.
Okay. How about this? I will go on your show again in June for the election, and then I'll talk.
Awesome.
I'll do Tagalog.
Okay.
I'll do this segment in Tagalog.
All right.
Awesome.
Okay.
That's a promise.
That's the deal. Okay. All
my
right.
gosh.
Okay. So a lot of our kababayans are wondering, okay, how is Steven's personal life? You've been very busy since, the campaign started. So how do you, manage your personal life now? I mean, how do you balance it?
Yeah. It's No balance. No
No
balance.
balance.
No balance.
It's very,
So imbalanced.
yeah. Even today, I mean, I was, I'm one of the candidates that is working full time. So I mean, I also take my priority. Unfortunately, it's for a campaign is my job. It's serious. It deals with cancer and healthcare, and that's something it's for me, it's a responsibility. So the more I can put forward in my day job, the more we can protect lives and give those resources to patients who need it, not just in New York but across 11 states in the Northeast. So I take even today I met with we're lobbying this week, and so we're meeting with offices from congressional and Senate offices. Today, I met with Charles Schumer's, Gillibrand's, Congress member Jamal Bowman. I mean, we have, and then across in North Carolina, Connecticut, all of that. So I have to prioritize that because that's kind of my commitment to the to that advocacy. I have to do it. Secondly, I'm in a full-time school dual degree program. Literally after this, I have to finish homework and then I have a class presentation at 8:30 at night.
Oh my
So
goodness.
it's not, and then after that, I think I have a campaign meeting until later. So, and whenever I have time, I can go ahead and do campaign things. This has been very tough, but it's fun. So we'll see. It's only 2 more months. So here's the thing: it's only 2 more months until the 3 things: work, school, campaign. It goes down to 2. So we just want to make sure it's not in vain. So help me if people want to join. Now is the time, because we don't want to reach election day and we're like, oh, okay, no more campaign, but you lost. We want to make sure that we reach election day and say, oh, we're okay, but we won. It's all worth it. Again, it's just sacrifice anyway. I mean, to be honest, it's nothing new for me. I mean, if you're involved in the community and you do community work, the name of the game is sacrifice. You don't think I want to go to Vegas? I just go to Vegas and say it's self-care for the weekend. Like I want to do that too, but I have to go to a conference and speak on Saturday and then go to a meeting to help people. It's nothing new for me. Unfortunately, I guess maybe I got used to it. But yeah, it is busy, but I mean, that's what I asked for, unfortunately.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So before we
Why? Who's asking that? What are they really asking?
you're texting Grace.
Yes, they're texting me.
Okay.
Anonymous.
Do you want a really personal question? Do you have a girlfriend?
Yes.
That's what I
Yes.
okay, because that's what
We're leading into that
what
question,
the previous
actually.
question was about. That's what I know.
Yeah.
I know what. I'm seeing some people now. Yeah.
Some people.
Some
okay.
people.
Okay.
Oh no! Delete that. Delete. I'm seeing a person. Delete that
A
answer.
lot? More than one?
Rewind.
Rewind. Okay. You're seeing someone.
Yes.
I hope she's helping you in the campaign.
No, she's not. I'm keeping my world separate.
Okay.
Okay, that's the balance.
That's the balance. Yeah, that's the balance.
At least that's not imbalance there, huh? Okay, we have to wrap up. Thank you so much, Steven. So parting shots from you before we wrap up and let you go to your next schedule for the day.
Anything you would like to say to our
Message
community?
for the people.
Yeah.
No, it's that our community, the Filipino community. I'll say that. I mean, I didn't do this to run for myself. It's not an ego thing. I get uncomfortable when I see my face on the posters in like small businesses or when you force me to watch a part of my speech. I don't like it. But we do need that representation. So I'm putting, it is a lot of sacrifice and just to put your name out there and try to do it. And so we can have some sort of representation in the city council, let alone a campaign, so we do need help, as any campaign does. So please, if there's anything I can do, I will talk to everyone watching. I will Zoom all of you one-on-one. I will go and I will take you for coffee at Amazing Grace or Purple, whatever you want. So you know that I would be somebody that you can rely on when we win moving forward. But before we do that, in the next two months, we need to know who we can rely on in the community to get us there. So please feel free to reach out. Except on Facebook, so many people are messaging me on Facebook. I don't always check, so I'm sorry. That's my second message. I don't reply to you on Facebook Messenger. I'm not ignoring you. I just don't. I didn't see it. Okay, don't take it personally. But really, great to be here. I wish we could do this in person eventually one day.
Yeah.
Thank you both, Grace and Maravir, for the opportunity. And yes, for the community, please come out and support. I'm doing everything. If you can go ahead and fight, fight for me and fight for the campaign for the next 2 months, only 2 months, then trust me, it's 4 years of me fighting for you. So please,
Awesome.
Now's the time. Come and join.
Thank you so much, Steven, and thank you for joining us. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Yeah, we'll see you again in June.
In June, yeah, and then we'll.
This show.
Okay.
Councilman
Okay, I'll see you.
Steven Raga.
In Tagalog.
In Tagalog, okay?
Bye-bye.
All right.
We'll speak
Thank you so
Tagalog by
much.
then.
Yes. Okay.
Bye, Steven. Thank you so
Bye.
much.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Take care. There you go. Thanks,
Fun.
Steven. You can watch us as we wrap up the show. So that was a wonderful discussion, Grace, wasn't it?
Yeah, we get to learn more about Steven,
And it's
both
amazing that
personal and his campaign activities.
so the takeaway there is like he has a
Yes, he's
girlfriend,
seeing someone. No,
but
he
not
doesn't
part
have
of the
a girlfriend.
campaign.
He's seeing
That's
someone.
one takeaway, and everything
Okay.
else
Mhm.
as well. All the hard work for the campaign. All the best. God bless you on that. So
Right.
next week, Grace, we will have our lady candidates
Mhm.
for Brooklyn and Manhattan. We will have Marnie
Arnie and
Alasa
Ezra. Yeah.
and Deirdre Levy. And we will also have a yoga expert, Elizabeth Stern.
Wow, I look forward to that.
We look forward to that. We need to exercise a little bit and breathe in, breathe
Tell
out.
me about it. Right. Okay, so that would be a very
Yeah.
substantial discussion again with the two candidates in the council.
Right. And so, is there anything else you want to say? Did I forget something on the script? I'm not reading anymore.
Yeah, I think we're good. That was a very interesting discussion with Steven, as usual. We can go on and on and on, but we don't have much time.
Right. So I'd like to thank our viewers for watching us, and we would love to hear your comments and suggestions.
Yes. So they can still type in their questions, and we can answer them next week.
You can
send it over to
Steven. You can ask
Steven.
Steven.
Yeah. Ask him about his favorite, song, movie, whatever.
Okay, so it's been a wonderful night of conversation about issues in Queens, Grace.
Yes, I wish to be there again soon in Queens.
Yeah, let's go to Amazing Grace.
Have some lunch.
Soon.
Have some turon and lumpia, like what Steven had for lunch.
Turon is nice.
Turon, yeah.
With coffee.
All right.
Okay, goodbye,
Bye.
everyone.
Bye.
Thank you so
Thanks
much.
again to our viewers. Good night.
Good night.